Alright, let's see if I can remember how to get this thing started. So I think we gotta run that compressor up. Nice, so that's my anti-ice, that's my mixture, that's my throttle. So I guess we use the air compressor to spin the engines. There it goes. Man, I really hope they improve the water physics in the new sim, because these aren't great. Like, just the prop wash going over the rudders should be enough to just swing this thing right around. Which it kind of is, but it's not enough. You can see it's kind of jittering on the water too. It's not natural. Alright, see if I can get the aft engine started. There it goes. Shut the APU off. Taxi out of the harbor and maybe past this natural gas ship that's out here. This is still one of my favorite flying boats in Flight Simulator. It's simple, and it seems really well made. That and I just love Italian aviation. I really wish they do Italian float plane racers. Like the SM, I can't remember, the SM-72? Or is it the Mach-E 72? It's that red race plane that has the contra-rotating propellers. So I guess that's Mount Vesuvius over there. I think we're flying north up to Rome. Alright, this looks like a... Now that we're out of the harbor, I guess we can take off. So I guess this has like a W configuration, like a W engine, so it's got a bank of cylinders that go straight up, and then you got your regular V cylinders that go out to the side. kind of cool. This is my favorite era for aviation. Turn that panel light off. Actually, we'll leave it on. It's not dark enough that it's affecting my view outside. I'll try and stay below the clouds. There's no autopilot in this, but it's stable enough that you don't really need one. It's a very pleasant plane to fly by hand, so it's not really necessary. It's a little unnerving just seeing that propeller just whirling away right over your head. But an engine fire would be interesting in this. So this has a GPS in it, but I'm not really sure if I'd consider that cheating, because you'd have a navigator that was telling you which way to turn. In the older versions of Flight Simulator, you'd have 2D panels you could bring up by, pushing Shift 1, 2, 3, etc. that had different panels you could use to control the aircraft. That's something I miss from older versions of Flight Sim that I wish would make its way into the new one. This plane has really nice propeller effects. It's something I'm always picky about with airplanes and flight simulators is if they have bad propeller effects. This one looks pretty nice. This whole plane is modeled very nicely. It's another reason I like it. And also just because it's so simple to fly. All the people flying, if you look at the if you look at multiplayer traffic over Florida right now, it's just everybody's flying through that hurricane. It's just, I thought it was funny because you look at the map and you just see a bunch of people flying around the hurricane. And that gave me the idea that they should create like a P-3 Orion or some kind of storm chasing plane so they can, you know, chase the hurricanes every time one happens in the sim. I wonder how severe weather is going to look in the new one. Because I hear it's using a whole new cloud engine that has, you know, different styles of clouds. Like you'll be able to see, okay. But I guess tornadoes are not going to be a random thing that you can find out in the world. It's only going to be something you can find in missions. So things like the hurricane over Florida, it's not going to, that kind of storm in live weather isn't going to spawn tornadoes, unfortunately. And I know I'm probably in the extreme minority, but the thing that I'm most excited for in the new sim is that airship. I thought that there's a stain on the windshield that I thought was like some kind of rock out there or something. Assuming this is in meters. So we're about 500 meters up. Just fine. I think as long as we stay below 3,000 feet, I guess we're technically out of any airspace, and we're flying, since we're flying VFR and everything. Yeah, I just love the detail on this. They did a good job throughout this airplane, all the linkages and the bolts, the stitching on the leather. They went all out on this airplane. And I really appreciate that because this is my favorite year of aviation. I don't know if you've ever seen Tailspin. It's a cartoon from the 90s based on like the Jungle Book characters, only it's set like the alternate 1930s, so they're all flying around in 1930s airplanes. And in one of the episodes, there's an airplane that kind of looks like this, and it's called the Titanium Turkey, which is a spoof on the, I guess on the Spruce Goose. So it's shaped like this airplane, only it's huge. So, if I understand this compass correctly, we should be going 250 degrees. And then once this 3 rolls, actually no, I'm sorry. I guess it's closer to 290 degrees because where there's 2 points on this tape. So if it was, this 2 was pointing straight up and down, we'd actually be going 250 degrees. I guess is how it works. It's one of the sad things about Flight Simulator is there aren't really any consequences to abusing your engines, like overheating them, not adjusting the mixture and things like that. So there isn't any, and this one has anti-ice, but there's really no point in manipulating it because nothing really happens. So I guess we're getting all of these famous flyer planes in 2024 if you bought the Aviator edition. You get them all, well, not really for free, but at a major discount. And I guess I heard that they're not going to be fully implemented, so I'm not really sure what that means exactly. Because I know we'll be able to get in and out of our airplanes in the new Flight Simulator, but I'm guessing we won't be able to do that in these planes. So like if I fly this airplane in 2024, I guess I won't be able to get out. But I'm curious to know how hard it is for them to actually set that up. What's this do? Oh, there's our coolant radiators here. Again, there's not really any point in manipulating it since there's no consequences to abusing the engines in this. Can't really see it on the front of the airplane. So we can slide open a window and get fresh air. Of course, we got scorching hot oil dripping on us now. Probably want to keep that closed. There's not much to see out here in the ocean. Might as well climb above the clouds. Be kind of cool if your pilot was affected by things like hypoxia and the cold. So if you're flying in the Arctic and it's really, really cold and you don't have like your cockpit heater turned on, your pilot starts to become sluggish and your vision starts to become blurry and everything else. So there's actual, consequences to not using some of the systems on the aircraft, and your pilot actually felt, alive. That might be, a little outside of the scope of what they're trying to do, but still, I think it'd be interesting. Got that little wind powered generator going out there. Oh yeah, this has some kind of gyro heading thing like the Spirit of St. Louis. So I guess if I set this to 200 and is it 90 degrees, which is what I think we're heading right now. Yeah, according to our GPS, I guess we're heading, oh, I'm sorry, we're turning like 270 degrees. Slowly start to see that that indicator move, which means I need to turn to the left, I guess, to stay pointed. Stay pointed towards 270 degrees. Which is kind of a similar device to what the Spirit of St. Louis has. It's kind of a cool gadget. I don't know why you'd use it though if you've already got a compass. Oh well. Veering off course just a little bit here. Saying we need to go, well, we need to turn to 296 degrees, which is probably closer to 300 degrees now. I still think it's incredible we've gone from Flight Simulator X to this. How quickly we take things for granted, I guess. Yeah, I think I'm right, so... It's kind of hard to tell on this one, on this compass, but... I think we're going exactly 300 degrees now because this 3 is now at the 0, and the 2 is at 100, so you add 100 to 2 and you get 300. But if we actually look at the VFR map that's in Flight Simulator, if we just had a simple measuring tape that we could click on the map and have it give us, you know, bearings and distances, we could potentially use that to navigate using old school methods. But since you don't have all that stuff, you might as well just use the GPS, because Sim doesn't really reward you for using stuff like that. So at this point, I think we're 2,200 meters up, if I'm reading that dial correctly. Another thing I'm looking forward to being better in the new sim is AI traffic, because it's just, or even just multiplayer traffic, because it's so annoying seeing like the same turboprop plane, only it's just hovering there, because the person playing is flying some kind of helicopter that you don't have in your library, so you just see it as a turboprop. Yeah, I can't stand that. What developers should do is they should have like just a streaming model that's just a very basic, simple model that doesn't really have any animations. It just has, you know, the most basic animations like landing gear and flaps and a spinning propeller animation and all of the liveries. And it just streams. That's the only thing that gets streamed to other people's PCs. So they at least see what you're, but they can at least see what you're flying, even if they don't own the aircraft themselves. Coming up on our first waypoint here. More than halfway there. Actually, there's a lot of coast here on this final leg, so we could probably descend back through the clouds now. Of course, you bring the throttle back in this airplane and it wants to pitch up because the engines are mounted so high. There, that should get us a nice, comfortable descent. So something I wonder about the new sim is if we'll ever have the opportunity to get out of one airplane and walk over to another one and then get into that one, assuming that you own it. Because what that would allow us to do is, like, there would be a good justification for developers to create land vehicles like Jeeps and four-wheelers that we could we could get out of our airplane and then go get in a Jeep and drive down the road. That might be something that bush pilots might like to do. We are flying VFR, so probably shouldn't fly through the clouds. Our destination is along the shore anyway. We can just fly. We don't really have to watch the GPS anymore. We can just fly along the coast. We're finally at the point I can turn this panel light off. So since we know that airship physics are going to be a thing in the new simulator, I'm kind of hoping that'll incentivize developers to maybe make some airships for the sim. I know Red Wing released a Hindenburg not too long ago, but it's not great. I don't know if they've updated. I'd have to go back and look at it. That Hindenburg is very laggy because they've decided to model the entire passenger cabin, which I don't think is necessary. I think they just needed to do the control gondola, which is the only thing that matters. But the, is it Red Wing? I'm pretty sure it's Red Wing that also did the Constellation. Hopefully we see a good Constellation at some point for the next sim. I'm not buying anything else for 2020. But if we could have a Constellation made to the same quality as like that PMDG DC-6, I think that would be awesome. Another prop liner from the 1950s that I'm surprised hasn't popped up anywhere is it the 337? I'm pretty sure it's the Boeing 337. It's basically a pressurized Boeing propeller liner that's based on the B-29. Yeah, it is. It's the Boeing 337. I'm sorry, 377. Yeah, the Boeing 377 Stratocruiser. I think out of all of the propeller liners from the 1960s, I think that one is my favorite. Because you've got the Constellation, the DC-6, and then the Boeing 377. And I think the 377 is my favorite. The de Havilland Comet, that's another one I'm surprised nobody's made. Considering its historical significance. Of course, at the same time, I'm kind of glad Asobo decided not to do it because, well, look at how that Boeing 707 turned out. Because, you know, Asobo will definitely use Airplane Heaven again for their famous flyers and local legends. Which makes you kind of curious, who developed this S.55? Because if Airplane Heaven made this, I'd be very surprised. That's cool. If you move the ailerons, you can just see those cables moving. There's somebody out there who's developing a Lockheed Vega. Of course, it's been a long time since there's been they've put out any updates about it, so I don't know if they're still working on it. Maybe they're holding off and waiting until the new sim to come out. Until the new sim comes out. But back in Flight Simulator 9 and Flight Simulator 10, the Vega was one of my favorites because it's just a pretty airplane, but it's got passenger seats, so you could do like basic old school VFR passenger ops in it, and it had a gyro pilot, so you could go, pretty long distances in it. But having 2D panels was nice, because instead of, granted, the controls for moving around the cockpit in this sim is a lot better than the old ones, but it is nice because you could be, looking at the outside of the airplane and then bring up the electrical control panel and just turn on all of your lights while looking outside, and you'd see all the lights coming on. Or, you could change the autopilot while you're in external view. It made operating all of the controls a lot easier. You could just bring up a 2D panel and flip the switches that you needed to. Which I understand it. That sucks some of the fun out of, exploring the cockpits of the airplanes, but still. It was very convenient. Finally starting to descend through the clouds. Yeah, this is our last leg coming up here. I wonder if they've modeled the Vatican in Rome. Is the Vatican in Rome? I thought it was. Well, I guess we'll find out. We can explore a little bit before we land. So most of what we've seen in the new simulator has been walking around, out in the wilderness away from cities and stuff, but I wonder what it's going to be like to actually walk through, civilization, where there's going to be, crosswalks and stoplights. I wonder, that's probably where the immersion is going to break down just a little bit. Unless they've created some kind of biome for cities and towns, but makes it look better. Starting to get muggy again under these clouds. Might have to turn the cabin light back on again. Let's bring it in closer to shore. I'm not a fan of the heat blur effect that they put on all the aircraft. I don't think it's realistic. I'm not sure you'd actually see that much, especially not on something like this. You'd be more likely just to see, you know, smoke streaming off of it, especially if the mixture wasn't set correctly. But I have to say, so I have the, oh, I can't remember what that water bomber is called. You got it if you pre-ordered the new flight sim. That yellow water bomber. It's very, very good quality. The 3D model is anyway. So if just half of the new airplanes in the new sim are as good as that one, I think we'll be just fine. So I guess that's Rome over there. Let's see if we can find maybe it's not. No landmarks nearby. My Italian geography isn't the greatest, obviously. Seems like the co-pilot gets better instruments than the pilot does. He gets an actual artificial horizon. I'm hoping I don't have to have the world updates downloaded to have basic points of interest, because that would be annoying. I guess that's our destination up there. Alright, I guess we can start slowing it down for landing. Which doesn't take long at all. It's not exactly the most aerodynamic airplane. There's one single ship parked out there in the distance. And that's only because I have a third-party add-on installed that I feel like a dummy for buying, because the new sim will have them by default. See if I can crab this thing. Get it to slow down. Nope. That's fine, it's a seaplane. You can just turn around and land in the other direction. Actually, judging by those waves, it's landing in a crosswind anyway. Yeah, this is probably a safer option. Go ahead and fast taxi back to the pier. We'll just go ahead and beach it and shut it down here. There we go. It's a pretty simple airplane to start up and shut down. And that's it. Alright, I think I'm going to close the stream here and go fly something else. So for those of you who watched, thanks for watching.